called, please hang up and try again.
Hey, I'm Madeline Butini, the host of 1-800-MAD-BUTT. I'm a visual artist from Australia on a conversational journey to call up and talk with the best artists, entrepreneurs, and visionaries of our time. Join myself and my guests as we unravel the stories behind their breathtaking creations and groundbreaking businesses. Make sure to check out our Instagram for extra show notes. You can view it at 1-800-MAD-BUTT. All right, cool. Let's get into it. Hey, Emmanuel, how are you going?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks so much for coming on my potty to talk about your art.
No problem at all. Thanks for having us.
Perfect. So let's jump into it. So tell us who you are and what you do.
So I'm Emmanuel Moore, and I'm an artist from Australia living in Brisbane, and focus mostly on painting and murals.
So you've been making art for a while now, and you only recently just went to uni, right? From what I read.
So it's probably like 5 years ago now.
Oh my God. I
Yeah.
literally thought it was like 2 years ago, man.
Nah, yeah, it's time flies, eh? Like it's literally been 2019 is when I finished, graduated, bachelor's degree.
I'm so bad at maths. This is so bad. I literally thought 2019 was like 2 years ago. Mind you, I have been sick. So
Well, that's what they say, yeah. The COVID thing is just like non-existent.
yeah, holy shit. Yeah, so how was going to uni? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I guess the most important thing I got out of it was just the education side of things, because I only went to grade 10 at school, and then just like writing like essays and doing proper research and all this stuff I never really knew how to do. And so going there and learning that whole structure on how to approach that, how to finish assignments, and all that, it really helped me, really pushed me to just work out how I'm going to, look into things properly rather than just like a surface level. Like when you're researching an artist or a style or an era, like in history, you really had to break it down, really had to do like scholarly research and all this stuff. So it was really hard, but once you finish the assignment, it was like, wow, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
Like the teachers like push you like as hard as you can to try and really get you to like fully understand how it all works, because that's how everything's recorded in history. Like everything was run through an educational system. So that's what I'm super grateful for. And then obviously just hanging out with other like-minded people and just sort of getting feedback from them and all these different perspectives was so useful. Like, if you're only doing art by yourself all the time, you only sort of have yourself to reflect off, or your friends around you, or your other like artist peers. But like really getting like a broad spectrum of like feedback is pretty cool, because you have people like, sculptors or like all these different types of artists looking at your work in a way that you would have never even thought. So it was like, okay, I've never even thought of that before. So yeah, really, really useful in that kind of sense. It really helped me just sort of understand it all.
Yeah. So that's epic that you like decided that you wanted to go back to school and study. And I think it's awesome too that you took the time to like bridge yourself into a university setting, even though you hadn't finished grade 12. Like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be too hard. Like, I don't want to do it. So you should be super proud of yourself that you like took that step and was like, nah, I can do it. Like, this is nothing. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it was a huge step, because like at first I just did like the Cert 3 just to see if I liked it. Just because I was just like, I struggled with school, just like dealing with that whole system where presenting or socializing and that, and then going back and doing something that I loved really helped. Like that, doing something I loved helped want to do it. Whereas at school, you kind of like, oh, I don't want to be here. Whereas with the art thing, I was like, I really want to be here. And so that motivated me, and then also kind of pushed me to be like, no, keep going. like just push
Yeah.
yourself through it. And then once I finished the Cert 3, I was like, yeah, I want to like continue, and then just try and like see how much further I can push this. And then ended up, yeah, it was a 3-year degree. So yeah, I can't believe I did it, kind of thing. Like it's just, yeah, really yeah, giving me confidence. Like there's already people who already have confidence and can go through life in a way where they know what they're doing. Whereas for me, I was like, I needed this. I needed to be pushed and have people around me to sort of support me in that. And yeah, would never take it back. It was really good.
Yeah, nah, hats off to you. So how was the critiquing part? You said that was a little bit
Yeah,
different.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, like yeah, definitely. You're standing there like presenting your work and what you've researched and why it is why your work is the way it is, and why do you do this? Like, what are you focusing on? And it's kind of weird because you're like, I don't know, like I'm just doing something that my soul feels to do. Like I feel like I don't need to talk about it, so it's kind of hard to talk about something that you keep to yourself. You're like, I don't want to tell people this. Like, this is for me, like. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, like it's just like once you start to talk about it, you start to really like reflect on like why it is you're doing that and why is that important to you or to yeah, like the direction you're going. So yeah, that was definitely at times tough. Like you're kind of sitting there like, oh, I don't really know what I'm talking about. But it's like that's pushing you to go, well, what, talk about it, like why is it the way it is? So that
Yeah.
was pretty cool. Like, and then again, like hearing other people, and then you start to go, yeah, that's, you relate to them, like that's exactly why I do it. Um, so yeah, super useful. Yeah, just being around other people with the same energy or completely different energy. So that people will literally disagree with you or really question you on something and that you don't have answers for. So you've got to either kind of come up with an answer, like delve deep into yourself, or sort of go, okay, give me a minute, I have to go, work this out, sort of thing. I guess it is more based like if you're going to pursue that like scholarly based work, which a lot of the people there were doing, where they're going there talking about it, sharing that and documenting it through essays and all that. That's what a lot of people would do, and for myself, that wasn't so much the direction. It was just more so getting a feel for the art world. Because like at this point, I didn't carry on to do the masters or nothing. So because I was pretty satisfied with where I am and I know what I want to do. Like I'm happy. Well, was more so happy doing like a lot more mural work, commercial work, and then slowly now it's just gone back into just being in the studio, focusing on basically experiments. Like I don't think I'll ever be able to stop painting. It's just something that I need to do in my spare time. All I can think about is, okay, now it's time to just carry on with that next piece I was focusing on. And don't necessarily need to, record that into any kind of like documentation or research or nothing. So yeah, pretty satisfied with where I am.
Yeah, man, that's sick. So you found being vulnerable was like a bit of a challenge because I feel like with artworks, or you're already being vulnerable, right? Like you're letting people see into like your mind and your heart and like your thoughts visually. Did you find like practicing that vulnerability and actually like talking to people and getting those critiques was really like a learning curve? Because I don't know, when I was getting mentored by Faust in New York, he used to make me do critiques with him and I hated it at first. Like
Yeah,
I would just be like, why? I don't need to know what you think about my shit. Like it doesn't matter. Like all that matters is what I think.
for sure. Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah.
How did you find like being vulnerable? Like you were like, oh wait, actually I feel like I can push the boundaries with my artworks now because I'm being more vulnerable speaking. I can do it more through like my painting.
did you find that like shift?
Yeah, I kind of felt like it kind of put me in a spot where I started questioning myself, where I was like, wait a minute, like, why am I doing this? Like, is it the right thing? And then like, like when you're I don't know, like say like you're looking into another artist or hear other critiques, and their like lifestyle really matches their work, and you're like, wow, like it's so powerful, like whether it's emotional or whatever it may be. And I was like, how's my work relating to me? I never really put myself in that position to think about that, like what is my work reflecting to me? And I guess like the subject matter made sense, with like objects that were from the streets or like with nature and that. And then I think that is what I started to focus more on, is when people started noticing that, like, oh, we noticed this, we noticed that in your work. It's like, is this something you like? Like, why do you do that? And I was like, yeah, of course. And then that's when I started to push that more so, because I realized I was doing so much work based on objects that were not alive, like they were man-made. But I was like, I love nature so much, and I was like, I need to start incorporating this more into my work. But at the time, I was like, I found it so hard to create nature, because nature is what it is. It's like you can't take that away. And then it's painting that is like, I don't know, it's like a different thing. But then also actually physically painting it was a little bit difficult. Like if you look at like a landscape or like bushland or a plant, it's quite intricate and like quite detailed. And at that point in time, my work was so detailed. I'd be drawing every little like leaf and hair and like every part of the plant, and I was like, this is going to take way too long. So I'm like, I need to break it down now. So then I started trying to like loosen it up, and if it was a landscape and there was a bushland in the background, that would just be a blur. It would just be like some real rough brush strokes, and then the stuff in the foreground would be more focused and detailed. So it was like, just started to like really pick at my brain, hearing people's opinions. And then, I just started to just go deeper and deeper into like, okay, I need to focus more on this. But at the same time, like you don't need to focus on it. That's just sort of like what I was feeling at the time, I guess.
Yeah. So coming from a graffiti background, how has that had an influence on your studio practice today?
How would it have impacted with the graffiti background? I'd say, because I've always tried to keep that sort of illustration thing where it's like you have your fill, like you mark up what you're doing, you have your fill, and then you outline it, and then you put your details on top of it. That's sort of how you would approach your graffiti, and that's how I was doing things originally in a studio. And then I've tried to break away from that because I feel like it's quite limiting. So that's why I've been like experimenting with just like traditional art, like losing the outline, just doing fills. If there needs to be in hard edge, if there needs to be, an outline to sort of hold it into shape to separate it from the background, then I'll add it in. But I still go back to just doing a full outline just because it's the most comfortable and natural thing, I think, coming from a graffiti background. You can never sort of take that away, and I'm like, how can I sort of connect the two? But I feel like graffiti needs to stay where it is. Like you can't take that off from what it is. Like that has its place, and then the studio also has its place. So it's like there's no blurred line. It's like there's a hard line there. Like that is what it is, and this is what it is. So yeah, but it's sort of a really hard transition to make, to try and either do I bring it with me or do I separate it? And I just at this moment I'm just feeling it needs to be separated, and the more traditional work in history of painting is more of my focus. It just makes more sense to me. But
nice.
Again, people will still ask me, like say if I do a commission or something, they refer to a lot of the stuff that's graffiti related, or the hard edge stuff, like illustration stuff. So it seems like it will never leave me as well. Like I'll do like posters. I've done like music posters and stuff as well, where it's lettering and like just like illustrations of just like things outlined. So yeah, it's a bit of a crossover in all different directions.
Hey, I mean, if it can supplement the income, why not?
For sure, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's interesting though. It's so funny that you kind of, because I would assume that because of like the graffiti thing, we don't have to get into that, but that was like a big part of like your life for a really like long time, like formative years. And then going into this like different part of yourself, which is like, like you were saying, the more traditional side of things, and almost being like moving away from that, I think in the beginning would have been really difficult, especially if that is like where your roots are with art, which is what I'm assuming. Is that like, can you speak to that in any sense of the word? Like, do you find that when you have to go into the studio, sometimes you literally have to just be like, yo, little M, like you've got to sit outside today. Like I can't have you come into the studio with me. Like I need to be like adult me who needs to do the traditional painting. Like, do you find sometimes when you are doing like work, you kind of see it come out a little bit and you're like, oh no, wait, got to go back. Like can't do that again. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. Like, for doing it for so many years, prior to like focusing more on traditional stuff, as I was saying, like you can't remove that. But yeah, it just got to a point where I was like, okay, this is super limiting, like the graffiti thing. So it's like, where can I go with this? Where I can do it in peace and it can just keep developing into something that I can have for life, and I can be at home and be at peace. And so yeah, it's just and then it's like, I don't know, like it's like, yeah, like a plant, like you start watering that plant and it just starts to grow. And I really enjoy that. Like I like challenging myself and just pushing yourself in a new direction. So like, yeah, it's just I'd prefer to be where I am now rather than if I would have stayed there. And yeah, so
Yeah,
I don't know
totally.
if that makes sense to the.
No, it does.
Yeah.
No, it does. It's so funny too, like hearing you talk about how like limiting graffiti is, because with collage, I was starting to find it like super limiting. Like after doing it for like, I think at that point it was like 7 years. Like I was like, man, this is getting really fucking boring. Like I really need to start pushing and like experimenting, like what you were saying. And I was doing that last year. Like I was doing lino prints. I was like fucking around with like spray paint in my studio. I was like just doing anything that I could do to like diversify a collage.
Yeah.
And for like a really long time, I thought that was like wasted time, because I was just like, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, nothing really great came out of it, I don't think. But now, like now that I've settled more into it, I'm like, actually, no, that wasn't wasted time. Like there was actually something really good that came out of that.
For sure, yeah. It would never be wasted time. Like it's experiments is just so important to constantly keep evolving, and at least for myself, is just like always trying something different, even if you don't show anyone or put it out there. If you're like there, like trying to develop something new, that's the most important thing. Like from like, well, at least for myself, like some people can really stay true or like a purist to like their one specific thing and build that and grow that. And for some people that's really important, like if it's a commercial thing, like you can't just all of a sudden just randomly change what you're doing. But yeah, like I think it's just constantly doing something different and evolving. And that's just with like life in general, right? So I think that's the same with art. Like like I don't know, like with your collage thing, like that would make sense that you want to expand and see what you can do with it. And I guess that's where like what art has been in the past. Like people have slowly pushed boundaries and it has developed into styles of what they are, real cliche example is like Picasso, like how at the time when he was doing all that crazy stuff, people were like, what's this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's, you know what I mean? It's like, now look at it.
Yeah.
It's like he completely broke that, like, and that's sort of the evolution. It's just like completely changing and just being like taking that risk and just going, this will either turn out really shit or, it'll turn into something that's really worthwhile.
Totally. Have you ever been in the studio and done something and been like, I thought this was going to be sick, and then it just didn't pan out?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. You have this vision and you're just like, wow, that's terrible. Yeah, I guess that's what the studio's for, right?
Yeah.
That's, even like, I'll even look back on like, works from the past and I'm just like, wow, I really don't like that. It's just at the time you think it's like the best thing you've done.
Yeah. Don't worry. Yeah. Like last year, it was just like randomness. Like I had no real like thought to it. And then like this year, I was like, oh no, wait, this is actually pretty cool.
And sometimes it's like that. It's like you look back and you go, wait a minute, I was onto something there.
Yeah,
So.
But see, I've never been to uni though. That's the other thing though. Like I was kind of like you. I was really bad at school. I had ADHD growing up, and like art was my best subject, but I was like really bad at everything else. Like I'm pretty sure they just passed me in like maths just so that I could like leave. You know what I mean? So like, and I used to get like C minuses for English, like didn't do very well at all. And when I left uni, when I left school, I was just like, I'm not going to go to uni. Like we never had that discussion. So I think for me, like having to be that like experimental was like me almost going to art school. Yeah. And then like posting it online was like me getting my critiques. But like props to you, man. I don't think I could actually do art school because I think my ego would be too bruised from doing critiques.
For sure. No, I think it's fine to not go to art school. Yeah, for sure. Like and again, we've got social media these days. We've got so many different outlets where we can get different kinds of feedback from different people. And that's kind of where we are with the world right now. Yeah. Like totally. almost like right now personally, like the thought of like doing a degree or something, like I don't see as overly necessary. Like I don't think artists need to do it at all. It's just in your spirit with like you as a person, and what you create is who you will be. Like I don't think it's changed me like prior to going there, like besides the education side of things, and that was almost more like just a personal thing for like self-development, but your art will always hold its own power. It might give you a little bit of confidence, like, oh, I did a degree, like I have a better understanding, but going through it I realized like like it doesn't really do anything unless you're really focusing on that side of things.
But see, like I would go to uni and do art history because I love learning about the history of art.
For sure, yeah.
But like I don't think I'd go there just to do like an art degree. Because I said, I would hate to be critiqued. I had the worst relationship with my art school teacher. Like I used to abuse him and like he used to abuse me. Yeah. And like we would like yell at each other and stuff, and he'd like send me to the principal's office. But he would still give me like A+ and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, definitely. Like I think that's what I found the most interesting was the art history. Just learning about the whole history. It was just so fascinating. Like you want to live the life of those artists, like they're like you're like idols sort of thing. You're like, wow, I want to be like this artist or like that artist. But then you're like, oh no, I'm like in like 2020. Like it's like it's completely different. Like so.
Who was some artists that you loved that you were thinking that about?
So like I guess like the first artists that I would sort of noticed from like the modern era would like it was the surrealism that stood out to me the most, just because it was like if I was going to create something, I would want it to be something that wasn't too like close to reality. It was like I want to create something that you can only create in a painting or a sculpture or something that isn't real. And they were like like obviously like Dali was the introduction to that, and then it just slowly led into like I think it was like a French surrealist, Yves Tanguy, and his partner Kay Sage. They were like these real like eerie, like desolate like landscapes. They were like really amazing. And then yeah, like Jeffrey Smart, I slowly started to learn about. That was really cool. It was like a real subtle take on surrealism. And the fact he was Australian, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then I think yeah, it's like Tim Storia is another Australian surrealist. Yeah, his stuff was pretty amazing as well.
Yeah,
And
no.
then yeah, just and then that just yeah, there's just so many. Like I guess it kind of like um it goes into like either Dadaism and then all the other kind of like branches off it, or like all things that are connected to it. But yeah, they were definitely ones that stood out to me the most.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I actually put in one of the questions how Dali has influenced your art, and if you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, like heaps. Like yeah, like like he's pretty in your face with wherever you look, right? So yeah, definitely huge influence. Just yeah, like the strange like yeah way he painted things, and then also like I never realized, but like a lot of his paintings are tiny. Yeah, they're like
mm-hmm.
I thought they were like huge pieces, and like he would paint them apparently really quick. Like he would do like a painting in a day, and I was like, how's he doing that? And so I was like trying to push myself to like paint things a lot quicker because I was spending so long trying to get things to look like as close to like the real thing. And then like yeah, just like looking into his lifestyle, like whether he was like you know acting it out or what it was, but he was a proper strange person, right? Like
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
He was
like
really aggressive. Well,
really, what? Sorry.
really aggressive.
Oh, I believe I reckon he would have had a huge ego.
Yeah,
Like he would have really known, like where he stood, kind of
yeah,
thing, and just really played on that. And like, of course, like props to him. Like what he was doing was crazy, right? Um, but as well, like a lot of artists from that point in time, they kind of, had a really maybe like a self-inflated thing about themselves. But yeah, like they were doing really amazing stuff, so can't really take
yeah,
that away from them. Like, yeah, and I don't know, like, yeah, again, like you just hear so many different stories, so you don't know if they're true or not. But yeah, just the things that they would do, like in their studios, or what they would do for inspiration. Yeah, it was just so bizarre, and I just found it so fascinating. And you kind of want to live the lifestyle, but you realize, oh no, it's like a whole different world now. Like
yeah,
people's mental health is a little bit better, and things aren't as like out of control and wild sort of thing. They didn't have like social media or like anything that was that quickly connected to people, so their feedback or critique was a lot slower, I'd say, on who they were
yeah.
and what they were doing.
Again, it was a really difficult, like if you're talking about that whole period with like the turn of the century and stuff with Picasso, like just for people that are listening and probably don't know, they used to hang out in these like places called galleries, which weren't like art galleries, but there were places that creatives would hang out, like poets and authors and painters and all these architects. Like there would be like groups of them in like European cities, and they would all travel around and all hang out in the same groups, but it was like incredibly difficult to get into these like places. Like Picasso knew who like Monet was, and like they all knew each other, and it was like
Yeah,
this incestuous society, incestuous in the fact that like they all knew each other.
for sure. Yeah,
But it was like this echo chamber of just their own thoughts. And like I could
yeah,
just only imagine like incredibly beautiful that would have been, but also incredibly like dangerous that would have been as well, for like you were saying, like this self-inflated, like egotistical kind of thing. And yeah.
most definitely. Yeah, yeah, exactly. They had each other to bounce, like only had each other to bounce off, and as you're saying, they all knew each other, and um, like whether it was music or poetry or like sculpture or whatever it was, in some way, a lot of them were connected. And so yeah, they were inspiring each other, and I guess that's why they were the way they were. Whereas now
Mm-hmm.
it's just so available. Everything's just so available. It's almost so overwhelming. You're like, where do I stand in all this? Like everyone's already doing something you're already doing,
I
you know?
know.
So it's like, yeah, like what do you do? Like it's just, I just find it so overwhelming. So you got to try and like cut that off and just focus on where it sits right for you, I think. Like if you're enjoying it or achieving the things that you want to achieve within yourself, then that's great. Well, at least for me anyways, because every artist has their own idea on what they want out of it, or what they a lot of them probably don't even think about it, so yeah, they just do, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, again, to hearing you say like everyone's doing the same thing that you're doing, like same thing why I needed to diversify my collage, because it was literally like just rinse and repeat for everybody else around me, because now everyone's doing collage, you know what I mean? Like I was still doing it when people were like, oh, only kindergartners do that, it wasn't really like cool like it is now. And now it's just like rinsed and repeated, and it's like whatever. But anyway,
for sure. But yes, with everything, because I remember like seeing your collage stuff like years ago, whatever, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. You know what I mean? Like it, and that's just you see that around like with any kind of art, and now it's just like it's happened tenfold. Like it's already being done over and over and over. Whenever you see it, it's like, yeah, I know what that is. Whereas 10 years ago, you're like, wow, what's this?
what is this?
So
with your materials that you use, do you use house paint, spray paint, and acrylic, or have you just like moved away from that into like oils and stuff? What are you using at the moment?
Yeah, still mostly acrylic. I'm trying so hard to get into the oils, and I've done like a couple of oil paintings. It's just slow. Like with the acrylic, you can literally begin and you can stop. You can paint over it within like 10 minutes. It's just so forgiving and so easy to work with. Whereas with oils, it's like every time you put the paint down, that ain't gonna dry for a while. Like you can get mediums where it dries quickly, but it's just a different texture, and the way you work with it's different. So I didn't like sort of program myself to like work with that from the beginning. I think that's had a huge impact on me. It's just the same with spray paint. As soon as you spray it down, within a couple of minutes you can basically go back over the top of it. So like I'm just too used to that. But really trying to work into oils a lot more at the moment, just because it's just the finish is a lot nicer, and the colors I find just a little bit more natural, not as like sort of that like artificial kind of vibrancy that acrylics kind of have in spray paint. You got to be real careful. Like you got to really break down the colors to kind of lose that really strong vibrancy, whereas oils already have that sort of like flattened sort of finish to it. You still got to work with something like they still are a bit bright if they're fresh out of the tube. But that's sort of like what I've been trying to get into is oils. It's just hard when you've programmed yourself to already work with something that's just, I find, just so much quicker and easier, like acrylics and spray paint.
Do you have any favorite brands of acrylic paint?
I just mainly use like Matisse. I was using like the Iron Lac for a while there, and pretty much whatever I can get my hands on. Like if it's like again, like like if I'm doing like a commission or something, I'll definitely get like the most like sort of professional finish, and then like good quality stuff. That way I know that the artwork's going to last for a long time. Whereas if I'm practicing in the studio, I'll be using the cheapest stuff I can find. It's like student paint, you know what I mean? That's sort of the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I really love Goldens. Hey.
Yeah, cool. Well, it's like I know like oil thing I was going about. I've seen like is it Windsor and Newton? I think it is. They have like water-based oil paints. And I only just discovered those in the last year. And then that with a medium, like a drying medium, are pretty good. It's basically like an acrylic, because it's like you can wash it with water. You can mix it with water if you want to. It's water soluble, and then you can put the drying like agent in it, and it dries pretty quickly as well. And
Have you
that's
ever
like
used like a water-based ink?
to yeah, I think well, I like how like that. Like, is it like a acrylic ink you're talking about?
No, so there's like when I was doing lino printing, I was using this like water-based ink, and I was doing
Yeah.
like spray painting on the bottom, and then when I was doing some of my experiments, I was like, oh, it's dry. I'll just like do a gloss on top. And
Yeah.
like, no, I didn't know that like it reactivates
Yeah,
with
okay.
water, and it just like you can't.
Ah,
Yeah,
I've
man.
I've done that. I don't know if you've done it with varnish, when you go to varnish your canvas and it reactivates things, and you just smear the whole canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta be
So,
super careful.
oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. Was that like an important piece that you were like submitting for something?
I think, yeah, a couple of them were like finished commissions. And like, this is years ago, and I've like just put like a huge like streak of like varnish on top of like the oil-based varnish. And it just reactivated like something oil-based, like an oil marker. It can reactivate like oil markers and stuff. Like, oil markers are different to oil paints.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no, it just smeared it, and it just like went like yellow, like where the varnish was and that. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I have to redo this whole thing, eh? But like, yeah, you just got to learn one way or another, yeah.
Where's your studio now in Brisbane?
So I'm Bayside,
Yeah,
and it's
nice.
just, yeah, just solely out of my garage. Like, I
Yeah,
don't,
nice.
yeah, like, I just like, I kind of like the idea of like having a studio away from your home, because then you're going to work on your art. I like that idea, like that concept. That way you're actually giving it your 100%, like most of the time. Obviously you're probably like hanging out with other people and that, but that way you sort of just really get into it. But I just find it so available at home, and like it's just like so like my garage is pretty well cut off from the rest of the building. So when I go into the studio, I kind of am leaving my house anyways. So I like that. It's just like you don't have to drive anywhere, or you don't have to catch train nowhere. If you're like right in the city, then you don't have to worry about like your parking, or yeah, just all that stuff. And
Or
then
like
like,
the extra rent.
and then the financial side of things as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that can be a bit of a struggle. So yeah, it's just been a lot easier at home. And then you have everything at home, because I was like, oh, then you like, imagine if you're doing like a big canvas, you have to like carry it in, or like you have to carry everything in. And then if you've left something at the studio and you're at home working on something, then you have to go to the studio to get it. And that whole idea, I was like, oh, that would be a bit frustrating as well. So I was like, if I just have one base at home and just treat it like, yeah, like a studio, like I'm going to the studio, cool. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I have my studio at home. It's the best.
Yeah.
I've had people hit me up to like rent a space that's like 10 meters squared for like $250 a week. And I was like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Like
sweet.
yeah, if you're making a lot of money off your work, and you need that space, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. But yeah, I'm, not in that position to be, forking out that kind of money to, find that space.
No. Man,
No.
my rent just went up $150 a week. Like, I'm not. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've moved away from like, I think from what I can see on your Instagram, you've moved away from like painting trains to like doing still lifes. What was that transition like? Like, did you feel like the subject of like doing like the trains had kind of finished for you for the time?
Yeah, for a long time I've been trying to get away from the trains, but people just keep like wanting them, and like I do enjoy it, but I'm like, no, I want to do something different. Yeah, I want to push myself. I want to, and that's when I started to do more like plants and flowers and stuff. Yeah, so it's still there kind of thing. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to get rid of it. But I try my hardest, to get away from it. It just came natural as well. Like, I don't know, I just really enjoy just painting them. They're an interesting sort of like structure to look at, and then just sort of like break down and do like, and there's such a variety of them, like, and it sort of can be a place anywhere in the world that there's a different kind of model and stuff. So, but yeah, I was just like, no, I really want to just start stepping into this like traditional thing where it's like still life, landscapes, portraits, and that. Like I don't know, don't know if I really want to focus on portraits. But yeah, just more like, like in my studio, I can set up a still life and just work with the lighting and the, juxtaposition of it, composition. And that's just sort of where my piece is at the moment, where I feel most like comfortable. Like it's not moving, or it's nothing too out of control or crazy to focus on. You can pick the exact objects you want to paint, like to a degree, and then I'm kind of like trying and connect it with who I am and where I am. So like there's an artist, I think it's Giorgio Morandi, I think it is. A lot of his still lifes are literally just like vessels and vases, and it's just like it's like the most basic still lifes you could ever do.
Oh, yep. I'm looking at it now. Yep, it's really nice.
Yeah, it's so cool, and like he's done some really like high detailed stuff that like with a variety of things. But it seems like at the end of his career, he started just to focus solely on these like simple like vessels and vases and like cups and whatever. And I was like, that's so cool. And he just like painted like so many of them, and I'm like, that's awesome. That's like, you can just go to the studio and just put something really simple. You could literally put like 2 cups next to each other and paint it, and you still get that fulfillment of painting. Like when I finish the piece, I get quite fulfilled. I'm like, I feel complete. I feel done, and like I can carry on with my day. It's like that right there like speaks to me. Like that's so peaceful just to look at. Like even though it's like quite like rough finish, and like he obviously painted with like a really rough brush in that. That just stands out to me so much at the moment. I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
these really like basic still life things.
Yeah, I liked the one that you did that was a little bit cubist, and you had like a like pen at the bottom as well, like a marker.
Yep.
With this like cubist, like I think it was like an apple as well, and that's why I asked if you did oils, because it looked like it was done in oils, because it was just like so smooth, the like edges and things compared to everything else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I've had a few people like say like, oh, you paint with oils because of like how well they're blended. I just try to work as fast as I can, and just really try and blend, like have that like shading effect work really well, and I just paint as quickly as I can, sort of thing. But for sure, like doing like breaking away from just simply what you see like observational art kind of ignites that kind of like interesting visual for people to look at. And that's why I've really enjoyed the surrealism stuff, because it was like, wow, you can't see this in real life. Like you can only create this. But I don't know. I'm just really loving like the straight up what it is, and just focusing on that. Like who knows where that'll take me, or what I'll get out of it. But that's definitely where I'm at.
Yeah, sick. So do you like doing smaller canvases or bigger canvases, do you think?
If I could do bigger canvases, I prefer the bigger canvases. It's just again space, and then like the limited space to store them as well. I'll often paint over the top of other paintings. I have like 10 large canvases where I can just like experiment on top of it and just go over it and over and over it. But if I at some point I want to create like a huge body of work, but I'm like, where do I store that? Like you can store it, but then it's just kind of just sitting there, and then you're like, what do you do with this? Like obviously you do your exhibition or something, but I don't know, I'm sort of like I feel like I'm kind of either too scared to do like solo stuff, or it's just like it's so, I find it quite daunting,
Yeah.
show,
Talk about that, because I've spoken to a few people about this. So talk to me about that. Why do you feel scared?
it's like, again, I'm just like not good with like talking in public, and like presenting and just putting myself on the spotlight. So it's just like revolving a whole thing around myself. It's just like, why am I doing this? I'm trying to like remove myself from, like social situations, and here I am like creating like a whole show around something that I'm doing. It's just so scary. But like most of the time when you finish it, you're like, well, at the end of an exhibition, you're like, that was really cool. It was
You
like way
feel
more
really
chill than
good.
you think. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so you get so much out of it, but it's just that nervousness you get when you're going into it just scares me. And
What
it's
if
just
you
like,
what if you had a solo with somebody else so that it took some of the pressure off?
exactly. Yeah. I think that's the only way I can enjoy it, is when, yeah, it's like a group show, or if it's like a shared show. And generally, if it's like in a group show where there's really like prominent artists, so you just sort of fly under the radar a bit. I like that, where it's like the spotlight isn't just like boom, you know what I mean? Like, this
Mm.
person is doing this thing. I'm like, oh God, like I just,
Yeah.
yeah, find it so paralyzing.
Do you find that like your inner critic comes out heaps then?
I don't know, like
Or does it just make you feel like generally uncomfortable because you're an introvert?
probably just more uncomfortable because I'm introvert. Like I to be honest, like I don't really care what people think of my work. Like, like it's most of the time just for myself. If I'm happy with it, that's cool. People can say what they want about it. And actually, I love criticism, or like especially when it's like harsh. Like, I love hearing feedback where it's like I don't like it. I actually really enjoy it, because I'm like, okay, like I want to know why. Like I want
Yeah.
to, because most of the time people go, oh wow, like your work's so good, or oh we love that, or whatever, and it's like, yeah,
But it's
that's
not
cool.
challenging.
Nah,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's like I know that I can do better. Like, and it's
Mm.
like, um like, tell me something that you don't like about it, so I can learn and I can go, okay, thanks. Like, all right, I can think about that and either go, I agree with that, or I disagree with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I love that. Like, and that's another thing I loved with the art school. It was like, you would get all sorts of feedback, and it was like fun. It was like, oh cool, like this person didn't like that. Like, there's some people who really take it seriously, and you're like, this is awesome, because it's, you're not just smooth sailing. It's like, okay, wait a minute, there's a spanner in the works here. Like, what's going on? Like, I thought it was all good, but that person disagrees. So I kind of like that side of things, where it's more of like, yeah, you're just being critiqued, rather than like, yeah, with an exhibition or like a show. It's like, here's the finished work, like, wrapped up in a little package, like it's all done. I like that whole, like, some
Mm.
people like it, some people don't like it. Oh, is that piece finished? Oh, you could have added this. Oh, why is that color there? Like, I just love the whole journey of it. I guess like
Yeah.
the exhibition things, like the finished product, or like the end of the line, and it's like, oh, it's sort of over now. I
Yeah.
love the journey more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
That it's with that like with that Morandi stuff, it was like just basic household like items. Like, I like that at this moment, where it's like that could be anywhere or anything. Or I guess like it's more like, if you go into a house where they're really wealthy, right? And you get all their cutlery or vases or things around the house, and create a still life with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be like some high end kind of like products.
Bougie
Whereas
shit. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Whereas if you go into like a middle class working person's place, you're going to have some pretty basic stuff that you will see anywhere else, like from Kmart or whatever it is. So I guess like in the back of my mind, that's sort of what I'm thinking I'm bringing to it. Like, it's like,
Yeah. Okay.
okay, that tea towel was bought at Kmart. Like, oh yeah, that fruit was just bought at the local supermarket. Like, it's a middle class person painting a still life. To me, I guess that's what traditional still life painting is. But no, I hear exactly what you're saying. Yeah, it's like, who's this person? Like, yeah, why is this still life more interesting? Otherwise, it would just be another still life that just exists amongst the other billions of other still lifes that have been painted. Yeah, so I guess I could
No,
take
but
that on
that's
board,
interesting
right?
input though. Like, and I didn't know that. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that gives it more context, where I'm like, holy shit, that's actually really good. you know, like I didn't think about
For
it that
sure.
way.
And I guess that's what exhibitions are for, right? Is it when you go there and you do an artist talk and you can break down your work, sort of thing. But yeah, that scares the hell out of me. I wish it didn't, you know, like that's sort of where I want to go. I want to start entering more in art prizes, and I would love to do exhibitions, but it just scares the hell out of me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like I think it's just a matter of like pushing yourself, right? And like
Yeah.
being like, it's okay to be like vulnerable, and it's okay to be like scared of something. Like
sure,
we're only
yeah.
human. Like you know, and I think like, because I don't really, my level of like scaredness about doing that stuff is more like inner critic stuff. It's not because I'm an introvert and like I don't like being in like public situations give me anxiety. Like it's not that. Mine
Yeah.
is literal, like I have been told that I'm not good enough by somebody before, and that's my like inner critic going at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like it's a lot more like it's different. I'm not saying it's more challenging, but it's different, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would be like important to, and I don't want to therapize you because I'm not a therapist, but I think it would be interesting to like look into that anxiety and be like, how can I open up my window of tolerance so that I can start doing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely know
Like
what you mean. Yeah.
that sort
Exactly.
of thing. For me, for my inner critic, right? It's like for my art stuff, if I wanted to do a solo, because I haven't done a solo in like 9 years or some shit.
Yeah.
Like it would literally be me having to work on my inner critic and being able to accept that the art that I put forward is great.
Yeah.
And you know, and that it doesn't matter what other people think. Like you've already mastered that, right? Like you love it.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah. Yeah.
like I'm like, if I'm at an exhibition with my work, I feel really insecure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think that's something I completely agree with. I can definitely see myself. Yeah, if I was to do that, yeah, push myself going out there and yeah, go like yeah, maybe set up a goal like go to three different galleries or exhibitions. Yeah, over even if it's a 6-month period, and just go there for the artist talk, see what it's about. And I think that will eventually warm you up to being like, I see what it's about, you know, like this is possible. Yeah.
Like just go to different exhibitions and just like see how you like vibe it out, or like even just like, because I think people would froth on your work if you did a solo, like even just like go to a shared show like you were saying with like 3 or 4 of your mates, or other people that you like who are like on the same level as you, so you can't hide in the shadows.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then like you can test out the waters and see how you feel, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like just getting used to it and comfortable. And then I think it's also like, yeah, like just networking and knowing that that like audience of people, or I don't know what the word is for it, but it's just like meeting people within that community. And then it's like when you're outside of the community, you're like, who is there? What is there? What's it about? You know, like who am I amongst it? Like I'm no one or whatever. Whereas if you're participating in the community, then I have an understanding on where you would fit in. And I guess but I also like, that's what I've found hard with the art world. I wouldn't say I've pushed myself so hard, like on that side of things, but it moves quite quickly. Like people come and go, or galleries come and go. And it's just like, wait a minute, like all that doesn't exist anymore. You know, like it's the way, like the amount of things that have changed in the last 5 years, you know, like it's crazy. Like a lot of my friends have moved to Melbourne, for example, and it's like, wow, that whole community is like gone. So it's like just sort of like, how do you keep up, or what can you do to still be a part of it? And I guess that's why I am where I am now, whereas I'm still doing it, but it's just I'm not so connected to the community as much. That once was here.
I'll send you some links for shit that you can go to. 100%. I always have people say, oh, you should come to this, mate. I never fucking go because I'm a homebody. Not because I have agoraphobia, because I just love being at home. Like, you know what I mean? Unless I'm like, actually, I need to go do that.
Yeah.
But man, I'll send you shit you can go to.
Yeah, cool. Got the tea. No, thanks. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
Appreciate
and
it.
Like the Brisbane community is actually like when I first started this podcast, I thought, oh, the community is really small. It's actually really fucking big.
Yeah, and exactly. Well, there
You
you
know?
go. That's how I feel. I'm like, what's out there, you know? But then once you get out there, you're probably like, there's so much going on,
Dude,
but you just don't know unless you're like out there like looking for stuff.
totally. And like, I mean, I see it on Reddit sometimes too, on like Brisbane Reddit. People like, you know, they want to be a part of the community, and it's like, it's so welcoming here as well. Whereas like I find in Melbourne and stuff, it's actually not as welcoming as it is up here.
Okay, yeah.
It's a bit more nichey, so like, you know, like up at exhibitions up here, people who don't know each other will be talking to each other, whereas down in Melbourne, like you know,
people sticking to themselves, sort of thing.
Yeah.
and their like crew.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like, you know, that could just be me being a blow-in, thinking that, you know what I mean? Like it could just be the total opposite. So how is exhibiting at the Caloundra Regional Gallery?
I was so surprised that they even contacted me. I still don't know like how they linked to me, but like I did live on the Sunshine Coast for quite a while. So within that community, there was probably like you know, some word of mouth or something of my work, and then they just like fully put it on for me. Like was so welcoming, did it really well. Like I was so happy with the outcome of it. And they even commissioned me to do like a mural on the outside for it. So yeah, it was just so amazing. It was like by far one of the most enjoyable and best experiences I've had exhibiting, and just being in like a regional gallery, and how it's just so open to the community, and it stayed up for like, I think it was like, I can't remember, it was like a month or 3 months or something. It was really good, sort of like learning curve with how they operate in the back end of it, and the way they present it is just so good. I didn't really hang out too much with the other artists. I think it was like I drove from Brisbane that day and it was raining and stuff, and but there was heaps of other really cool work as well. So that was really good experience.
Yeah, nice. See, you just got to do more exhibitions, mate.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And they're like, come around and visit us whenever you want. I'm like, yeah, sweet. And I just sort of have never really been back. I think I've dropped through quickly a couple of times, but never got to see the people that were there when they were setting it up the time I was there. So I just got to try and stay connected. I guess it's hard as well, right? Like just keeping in contact with everyone.
But like,
everyone's busy, like.
Totally, man. And like, this is the other thing too. Like, it's just like, it all feels like a fucking rat race at the moment. And I'm just like stepping away from that. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I reckon like whenever you reach out will be the best time, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's exactly it as well. Like, I mean, that transition where I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I really want to step into being a little bit more serious on the traditional side of things, where it's going to take a while. I know it's going to take quite a while. Like, I want to focus on these still lifes for a while, and then maybe I want to get into some like landscapes, like observational artwork stuff, and then like maybe some like portrait stuff. But I don't know. It's more like enjoy just sort of like the things that are just sort of like sitting there and not moving. And I don't know why. It's just more peaceful to be around. It's like there's not too much going on. It's just, it is what it is, and that's it. I just find peace in that. Like,
he would just take photos of me, and then he'd just use the photos. So I mean, it wasn't like I'd sit there with him for like hours.
That's true. Yeah.
You know,
photographs exist, right? Like, cameras. So I could do that, I guess.
What is your best practice in the studio when making a new series of works?
Yeah, it's pretty sporadic. It's pretty random. It definitely depends on like the day. Like I could, like say if I whether I go to work or like I do something for the day and then I come back and I have in mind I'm going to do a painting. That might change. I might end up being really tired and not, end up doing anything. And then so that whole energy of what I was going to do completely changes because I'm doing it a week later. like kind of recently I did like a whole bunch of like abstract stuff, and it was I was more focusing on like color and um but also trying to focus on not having a plan. It was like I'm gonna just as well I probably had like a lot of certain colors. So I was like, I've got heaps of this like brown, or I've got heaps more of this gray. So I'd just lay that down on the canvas, and then I would just work off that. And that was the plan, to be like, I'm just gonna let this take control of itself. I'm not gonna be in control of it. And I'm gonna just sort of like look down at like the paints and see what's available, and I'll just use those, and then sort of create some kind of like shape out of it, and then work off that, and then just keep going and going. Sort of not having a plan was the plan for the abstract stuff, whereas like say with the still life, it was definitely more just like more of a feeling, like as a composition, like how did it feel and sit right for me. I'll move it around until it's sitting nicely like in the frame. It's objects aren't too close, so it's coming out of the frame, and just keeping everything sort of like bordered and sort of like not broken apart. But I think as well that like I could have like been like, okay, I'm gonna have some things going out of the frame, like Cezanne, like he had a lot of work still have stuff where it's like like the pear's half on the edge of the painting, like. So I still feel like it's quite young days, but generally pretty sporadic, pretty random.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Nice. Yeah, I like to think that I have a method behind my madness, but I never do.
Yeah.
Because then I go back to try to make something, and I'm like, I have no fucking idea how I did that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the best work, like looking back and going, wow, actually that was so cool, that thing, and it's like I don't even know how that happened.
Totally.
That's the best stuff.
Totally. Some of the best works I've made, I've been like intoxicated in some way. So like it's literally, like like literally I've been like pissed, mate, like so drunk. And then I look back on it and I'm like, how the fuck did I do that? And then I try to do it sober. But then like some of my good works I've done sober as well. And was like, must have been listening to like the world's best playlist that like helped me like hyper focus on this thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh man. So let's chat about the business side of things. So you've worked with Iron Lac and Noah Network, to name a few. How did those collaborations come about?
That was just I guess like being friends with the guys. So fortunate to know them, and them getting me on board. Super grateful, because that definitely helped push me, whether it's for exhibitions or just feeling like you're a part of something, and then having like resources available, whether it's like material or like spaces or some sort of like exhibition show thing going on. So it sort of like pushes you to be like, okay, I've got to produce something for this, or whether they want content. And that was that was really cool. That was real fun. I feel like a lot of that has sort of like slowly sort of not overly faded away, but that's definitely changed as well over the last few years, I'd say. With those guys themselves, but also myself, it's like, again, just wanting to challenge and push myself in new directions. And it's I'm like wanting to do like more art prizes and like get into that different sort of like stage of the art world. Haven't really put any effort into it. It's just like, what would I do, and how would I go about that? For a while I was well connected with those guys, and it was really exciting, because it was quite for Brisbane, that was quite a new thing, right? Like for like younger people to have an outlet to use as a way to connect or feel like they're a part of the community in some way. Super supportive of that. It's so cool, like that's there. And still, like still keep connected with them. Every now and then they'll touch base and ask me to be a part of something, or ask if I'll, need me to do anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So how do you find like because it sounds like you're going to more of like a fine art world type, like that's the direction you want to go down, rather than like this grassroots graffiti street art route, which is like totally fine too, by the way. Like I get it,
Yeah.
How are you finding like differentiating between like what you want to do and what is like not aligned with what you want to do, I guess?
Yeah, it's again just like not easy to kind of navigate that, because it's like I kind of believe in like trying not to force things to happen. Like I think it's like, no, just let things just be the way they are and just like go the direction that they're meant to go. But at the same time, you got to nudge things a certain way if you want that. You can't just sort of expect it to like fall out of the sky. And yeah, so like as I'm saying, like I don't know what I'm gonna do, but it just appeals to me to be more focusing on the more traditional way art has been and gone. And like it's sort of, it's not appealing in some ways too, because like you hear of all the stories and other things that come with that sort of mainstream sort of way art has been and continues to go. Like what are you bringing to the table in a sense, or what are you really a part of? And then you have this huge pond, like of other people. Like it's like, oh, it's kind of like going from like a pond to an ocean. It's like, oh, it's even more overwhelming. It's like how will I fit into this, or should I fit into this, or but it's I'm sure there's greatness that comes with it too, and whether I find that or not, time will tell. But no, it just seems like the traditional routes of art are just very strong in their place, right? Like people always want that, like this digital realm, it's just, I still think that it's sort of more like sticks to like visual stuff. It's like music videos and all that stuff. Like I think that's where that art belongs. But I don't know. Like I think just the painting within that like mainstream society of galleries and whatever else is sort of where it's at for the moment.
Yeah,
anyways.
totally. No, totally. So what advice do you have for other artists?
Well, I guess like with where I am, if I was giving advice from my journey, is just really stay focused on what you want to do. Unless you're doing commercial stuff, then obviously it's kind of hard to focus entirely on what you want to do, because people are going to want to ask you for stuff that they want. But I think just create things that are speaking to you and coming from your heart, sort of thing. I think that's the most important thing, and just build off that. Like, and I'll never take back all the commercial work I did, and I still do it. But just experiment and just keep focusing on what it is that you love. And just don't lose sight of that. But it's everyone's journey is different, because you have to experiment with things to know what it is that you want. Like I'm so happy just painting for myself and not making any money off it, or not really getting anything sort of outside of myself from it. It's just doing it as a way of life. Like it's a self-fulfillment thing, and it just keeps me going. Just do what just keeps you going, and just enjoy it. Experiment, I guess that's super important. Yeah.
It's so funny. I just like laugh whenever I like look back thinking that it was like a waste of time, and then I'm like, actually no, it wasn't.
No, not at all.
So what advice would you give your younger self then?
Yeah, pretty similar to that. I feel like it's in the back of my mind, but it's like it would be just to like sort of more like only thing that's come to mind is sort of what I already said, but
Yeah, that's all right. You
yeah,
can
I'm
always
sort of
apply the same.
yeah, pretty much the same as well as what I just said, but again, it's how can you give advice? Because it's like I had to go through all the things that I did to get to where I am now. So
Yeah.
you couldn't take that away. Like if you didn't do any of the stuff you didn't want to do, or that you wouldn't do, then you wouldn't know what's right for me now.
Totally.
Like yeah, like so yeah, just it would have just been like ignore ignore like trends and like whatever you think is like popping at the time or popular, and just keep at what rings true to you. Like yeah, that'd be it, I reckon.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So this is my last question for you, and then we're going to wrap up.
So 2024, I've got one exhibition planned in a month's time. Time will tell because I know the guy's really busy. It's at Middle in West End. So we have planned at this point is a solo exhibition um, with a shirt release, and his brother will be playing music on the night.
Wait, is this your solo exhibition?
Yeah, yeah. It's
No,
at like it's at the middle shop in West End, like where
fucking sick.
the old King Iron is. I think it's
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's sort of the plan at this point. I've been quite busy lately, just with work, so it's been hard to sort of like keep on top of other things that I've been wanting to do. But so I can't really say that they will definitely happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, at this point, that's one thing that looks like will be happening.
Wait,
So I've
dude,
been working on that. Yeah.
that's sick. You were making it sound like you were never going to have another solo exhibition, but you already have one in the works.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to I'm thinking about trying to get someone else on board for it, but people are like, nah,
Nah, man,
you
don't
gotta
do
do it
that.
solo.
Don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
window of tolerance, you're like smashing it right now. Like,
Yeah,
you just
okay.
need to keep on that path. I will be there if you need someone to bounce off. I'll come. If you need someone to buffer off so that you can like have a minute to like de-stress, like, you just
Yeah.
let me know. Okay,
All right, cool.
I'll
Yeah,
come
sweet.
and hang up. Yeah, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can just come talk to me. Okay.
All right, cool. No, I appreciate that.
Oh, of course. Like, fuck, man, dude, this is gonna be sick.
Yeah, no, it should be pretty good. Yeah, I've been
Do you
working
have
on
a
a few
poster
pieces.
yet?
No, nothing yet. That's what I mean. So it's like, yeah, it's meant to be like in like a month's time. So, but I know he's really busy, so it's like, yeah, just sort of just waiting it. It might be in 2 months' time or something. We'll just wait and see. Once it's on, it'll be on, sort of thing. Eh?
Yeah, nice. When was it meant to be on in May?
Yeah, no set date. It was
No
just
set
like
there yet.
that
Okay, well,
was
if you
yeah.
have a poster when we release this, then we'll pop it up. But if not, keep an eye on your Instagram.
All right. Okay. Cheers. No, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Anything else popping in 2024?
Just yeah, a lot more painting. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having us. Eh?
Yeah, anytime.
This episode was recorded on Yuggera and Turrbal land. Sovereignty was never ceded. The episode was produced by myself, Madeline Butini. And if you would like to support 1-800-MAD-BUTT, you can head to my website, madbutt.com.au, or you can also go to our Instagram and follow us there. Of course, we appreciate any reviews, so please leave us one if you love it. And yeah, hope to see you again. Thank you.
you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again.